I found out on a Tuesday. The kind of Tuesday that smelled like dish soap and stale toast. The kind where the sky is flat and unforgiving and everything in your body feels like it's holding its breath for something worse. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table with a glossy brochure in her hands, the kind with teal waters and pastel cocktails. Her fingers were curled around it like it was holy. "Just imagine, Liz," she said, her voice breathless. "Cancun in March, oceanfront. We got the last villa. We, not me." My acceptance letter to Colombia sat in a manila folder under my arm. I hadn't said anything yet. The paper felt hot against my ribs. I had waited until everything was official. Waited until I could show her. I had played the good daughter card like a religion. Quiet, useful, uncomplaining. The one who brought her coffee while she planned bridal shower menus for my sister, Hannah. I don't know what I thought would happen. Some softness, maybe. A hug. You did it. Something. But she kept talking. We had to dip into the education fund. She added casually, as if mentioning expired milk. I blinked. The what? The college account, sweetheart. Her eyes didn't meet mine. For Hannah's wedding. It was just sitting there, and this venue, it's once in a lifetime. I didn't hear anything after that. I just stood there, manila folder still, sealed, and watched as she folded the brochure like a treasure map and tucked it into her tote. Hannah came home later with her nails painted a glossy white and her mouth all shiny with lip gloss. She barely looked at me. I was in the hallway, sitting on the floor, the acceptance letter open in front of me now like a wound. "You okay?" she asked, like someone asking the weather. I wanted to say no. I wanted to scream. Instead, I tucked the letter back into the envelope and said, "Yeah, just tired." That night, I stared at the ceiling and tried to imagine teal water and pastel cocktails. I tried to imagine a wedding with orchids in her hair and speeches I wouldn't be invited to give. I kept wondering how long they'd been planning it. How long I had been quietly erased. I still went to the campus visit. Just once. Took the train alone. Walked through the gates in a coat 2 winters old. My boots soaked through. There were girls with trust funds and blowouts, laughing under checkered scarves. Their parents trailed behind them, pointing at buildings and quoting tuition costs like punchlines. I didn't cry until I saw the library. Something about the glass, the quiet, the fact that I had dreamed of this exact hallway for years. I saw myself at 18, breathing that air, holding a coffee, scribbling in the margins of a used philosophy book. And then I saw Hannah, in a white dress, at a resort, standing barefoot on imported sand. I took the train back home in silence. When I walked in, there were peony samples on the kitchen counter. Mom said, "You're just in time. We're choosing the reception flowers." I said nothing. I walked upstairs and peeled off my coat like a layer of skin. That was the week I stopped speaking at dinner. The week I realized I had been building my future in a house that didn't plan to carry me with it. It started with the silverware. Hannah was sitting on the living room floor, legs folded beneath her like a child, clicking through a registry list on her tablet. "Should we go with the rose gold or the matte black?" she asked, not to me, to Mom. They didn't even glance in my direction. I stood in the doorway unnoticed. I could have been a lamp. The screen glowed with pictures of Dutch ovens, monogrammed towels, espresso machines that cost more than a semester's textbooks. I caught a glimpse of a KitchenAid mixer, Pale pink, the same one I used to circle, in catalogs like it meant something. That one, Mom said. Ooh, and let's add the towel warmer. You'll thank me next winter. My scholarship fund was paying for towel warmers now. I swallowed hard. Later, when I walked past the guest room, I noticed something new. A white gift box, a ribbon, a tag with Hannah's name. I paused, read it twice, then stepped inside and sat on the edge of the bed. It was the book I had wanted for 3 years, a first edition of The Waves by Virginia Woolf. I had saved up for it twice. Once, I spent the money on a dentist bill. The second time, it went to Hannah's dress deposit. She doesn't even read Woolf. Downstairs, Dad was polishing wine glasses. "You okay, Pumpkin?" he asked without looking up. I didn't respond. He didn't notice. He used to call me Pumpkin when I got straight A's, when I brought him his jacket before work, when I kept secrets. Now it was just a placeholder word, like a label on an old jar you forgot to throw away. That night, I stayed up scrolling through college forums, reading about financial aid appeals, emergency grants, work-study options. But my acceptance came with a clause: full tuition only. Withdraw the scholarship, and it was void. They hadn't just emptied a fund, they had emptied a door. The next morning, I woke to the sound of laughter. Hannah and Mom in the kitchen again, picking cake flavors. Strawberry basil, salted caramel, vanilla bean chai. They were sipping iced coffees in mason jars like we were already on vacation. I poured myself cereal in silence, Adi standing up. No one noticed when I left the house. I walked 3 miles that day, just wandered. Past the public library, the closed-down movie theater, the old bus stop where I used to read during summer breaks. Everything felt smaller now. Or maybe I had grown too quietly. I ended up on a bench behind the middle school, where the metal always smelled like rain and gum wrappers blew like tumbleweeds. I pulled the Columbia letter from my coat pocket and unfolded it again. It looked thinner than it had that first day, less like a ticket, more like a memory. That was when I stopped dreaming about teal water and pastel cocktails, stopped imagining speeches, or mother-daughter moments, or even the promise of applause. Instead, I imagined a silent email, a quiet decline, a room left, empty. I declined the offer in the back corner of a library, not our local one, not the one with the broken heater and mismatched shelves, the one where Hannah had taken her engagement photos against the brick wall last spring. No, I took a bus, across town to a smaller branch, one with flickering lights and cold silence. I sat there with the email open for almost an hour, my fingers hovering. Columbia had given me 3 weeks. It had been 4. The cursor blinked. All it took was one click. One quiet, bloodless undoing. Pressed send. There was no fanfare, no dramatic music, just the hum of the air conditioner and the faint scratch of a pencil from someone 2 tables away. I didn't cry. I thought I might. But there was a strange, hollow stillness inside me. The kind you feel after holding your breath too long, like your ribs are empty rooms. When I came home, Mom was steaming Hannah's dress in the dining room. She had moved all the furniture, hung the train from the curtain rod like it was sacred. The bodice sparkled, ivory beading, sheer sleeves, a pale lilac sash that didn't belong to anyone but her. "Do you love it?" Mom asked, not even turning around. I wanted to ask if she remembered what I looked like in white. if she remembered prom night when I came down the stairs in a second-hand dress, and she just said, "Don't get it dirty." Instead, I said, "It's beautiful." She smiled. "I knew you'd say that. You've always been so supportive of your sister." Later in my room, I opened the drawer beneath my bed, the one where I kept everything that still felt like mine. My high school valedictorian medal, my acceptance letter, my scholarship confirmation, a photo of me at 12, standing in front of a university campus on a field trip, holding a brochure like it was a birthright. I held the medal in my hand. It didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt like evidence, like proof I once mattered. The wedding countdown was on the whiteboard in the kitchen now. 14 days. Someone had drawn a little doodle of champagne flutes clinking. I erased it when no one was looking. 2 days later, a package arrived at the house, addressed to me. No one noticed it on the stoop, wedged between bridal catalogs and a glittery envelope that said, "RSVP reminder." Inside the box, a used laptop, refurbished, faded, keys, no stickers, no note. I had sold a few things to afford it. Books mostly. My old guitar. Some jewelry my grandmother gave me once. The only real inheritance I ever had. I ran my hand over the keyboard. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and it would be enough. That night, I registered for online courses. Not Columbia, not a big name, but somewhere quiet, somewhere real, somewhere I didn't need permission to belong. The kitchen island became a war room for wedding logistics. White folders stacked high like monuments to their priorities. Mom with her color-coded spreadsheets, Hannah with her Pinterest boards and edible gold samples. Dad mostly just nodded and pulled out his credit card. Or maybe mine, in disguise. I stood there one morning, making coffee, when I heard the word honeymoon. "They want full payment by next Friday," Hannah said, scrolling through her phone. "But we're getting the oceanfront suite, remember? And the spa upgrade." "That's why we needed the education fund," Mom chimed in. "It's not just a trip, it's a memory, Liz." They used my future to buy her memories. I stirred, my coffee in silence. A thin, repetitive circle. I didn't drink it. That week, I started staying at the library longer. Not the local one. Not the soft, sad building with broken water pipes and burnt-out lights. I found a smaller one, tucked behind a courthouse. Open late, always half empty. Sat in the corner by the radiator and read about degrees I'd never get. Economics, environmental justice, literature theory. Sometimes I just scrolled forums, reading stories from students who had no one in their corner but themselves. One post said, "You're not crazy for wanting peace. You're not selfish for leaving." I screenshotted it. Read at 5. Times before I closed my laptop. The wedding was 1 week away when the rehearsal invite was handed to me, like an afterthought, folded, crinkled, stuffed in the side of my mother's planner. "We're short on seats," she mumbled. "But we'll find a place for you." I unfolded it. My name was printed wrong. They had typed Lissa, not Liz, not Elizabeth. Just the echo of a name they didn't bother to double-check. That night, I asked Hannah if I could see the seating chart. She blinked at me, phone in hand. "Oh," she said. "You're at the back. Table 12. It's the overflow table." Overflow. That was the word. That's what I was now. Not daughter, not sister, not student. Just spillage. Just what didn't fit. I nodded and said thank you. Then I went to my room and opened a blank document on my laptop. No heading, no salutation. Just this. Please accept this letter as my formal RSVP. I will not be attending. I saved it. I didn't send it yet, but something about writing it down made it feel like breathing again. 2 nights later, they had a pre-wedding dinner at the house. Just a few family friends. Aunts, cousins, Hannah's in-laws. Every chair was full. I stood in the hallway, waiting for someone to notice I wasn't seated. They never did. So I went outside, sat on the back steps with a piece of bread and a cup of water like I was in exile. Through the kitchen window, I saw them raise a toast. To love, to new beginnings, to everything I was not invited to witness. The captain. Night before the wedding, the house felt like a showroom. Candle-scented air, polished wood. Every surface cleared and glimmering, like it had never belonged to a real family. There were garment bags on the stair railing. Labels in looping cursive. Bridesmaid, mother of the bride, bride. None for me. I had been told I wasn't needed for hair or makeup. No ride arranged, no schedule sent. Just show up when the ceremony starts, Mom had said. We're a little overwhelmed. I wasn't on the bridal WhatsApp group. I wasn't in the photo shoot schedule. I wasn't part of anything, not... Really, I was just the shadow beneath their celebration. In my room, I sat cross-legged on the floor beside a cardboard box. Wrapped inside, a hand-bound leather journal with Hannah's initials engraved. I had ordered it months ago. Back when I thought maybe this wedding was a bridge. Maybe I could walk across it and find a sister again. Now it looked like a mistake. Didn't wrap it. Didn't leave it on the gift table. I set it back in my drawer. Quietly. Carefully. Like you'd return a letter to a dead friend. The RSVP remained unsent, saved on my desktop like a secret I didn't owe them yet. Instead, I left a voicemail on the church office's line. This is Elizabeth. I won't be attending tomorrow's ceremony. Please let the coordinator know I was never part of the head count. No explanation. No apology. Just my name, like a punctuation mark. That night, I took the long way to the diner near the train station. I sat in the far booth, the one with a flickering light overhead. Ordered black coffee, no sugar. I brought my laptop, logged into my online coursework, reviewed modules I hadn't touched in days. It felt quiet, not lonely, just mine. Around midnight, I walked home. Inside, the house was filled with the low static hum of sleep. Shoes by the door, curling irons cooling on the bathroom sink, the smell of perfume and hairspray like ghosts. In the hallway, I paused outside Hannah's room. Her door was slightly open. I saw her curled up in bed, veil hanging like a whisper from her chair. I used to tell her bedtime stories when she was scared of the dark. I used to braid her hair and hum off-key until she laughed. Used to matter. In the morning, I packed a small duffel, 1 change of clothes, my laptop, 2 books. A bus ticket I had printed days ago, just in case. No note, no announcement. I slipped out the back door while Mom reheated her coffee, and Hannah fixed her eyeliner. From the corner of the street, I saw the black car pull into the driveway, the one taking them to the church. The veil glinted in the sun. I turned before it passed me. The bus pulled up 5 minutes early. I stood beneath the peeling awning of the station, duffel at my feet, watching as passengers disembarked one by one, blinking against the morning sun, stretching limbs, dragging dreams. I didn't flinch. I didn't check my phone. There were no messages, no missed calls. No one noticed I was gone. I took a window seat near the back, pressed my forehead to the glass. The city unspooled slowly, red brick houses, dusty storefronts, that mural with the girl, and the ladder I used to think was about reaching for something bigger. They were probably halfway through the vows by then. Or maybe Mom was crying, hand clutching pearls, whispering, "My beautiful girl," loud enough for the guests to hear. Not about me, of course, just the daughter they believed mattered more. I thought I'd feel anger. But it wasn't anger. It was something quieter. Something softer than even sadness. Like when you turn off a song halfway through and never go back to it. The bus wound past neighborhoods I didn't recognize. Fields, fences, towns with names that sounded like they belonged to someone else's story. I opened a book but didn't read it. I opened my laptop but didn't type. I just sat there, not moving forward, not looking back, just existing. Which, for the first time in months, felt like enough. Around noon, the driver stopped for a rest break. I didn't get off. Instead, I sipped from a water bottle and watched as families wandered inside. Parents tugging children, couples laughing, elderly women unfolding bills from coin purses. No one looked like they were running from anything. No one looked like me. Somewhere between exits, I finally pulled out my phone. The lock screen was empty. Then, one new message. From Dad. Everything okay? That was all. No, where are you? No, we're worried. Just 3 words that rang hollow. I didn't respond. I turned the phone off and tucked it back into my bag. I arrived at a small town a few hours later. Nothing special. Just a row of brick buildings and a quiet bookstore with chipped window paint. I walked inside. The air smelled like old pages and lavender. There was a help wanted sign on the counter. The girl behind the desk looked up and smiled. Looking for anything? I paused, then said yes. I started work the next Monday. $10 an hour, part-time. Sorting used books, labeling shelves, wiping dust from forgotten stories. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet, gentle. No one asked me to smile for photos or wrap gifts for people who wouldn't unwrap me back. I rented a small attic room above the florist next door. Slanted ceiling, 1 window, no mirror. I liked it that way. Evenings were for coursework. I didn't tell the bookstore girl I was enrolled. Didn't want to sound like I was trying too hard to be someone. She just knew me as Liz, the girl, who alphabetized fiction too neatly and brought her own mug for tea. One night, she asked where I was from. I paused before answering. Then I just said, "Somewhere I outgrew." She nodded, like she understood. Maybe she did. The calls started a week later. First Mom, then Dad, then Hannah. I didn't answer. The voicemails were always short. "We just want to talk. You missed a beautiful ceremony. Please let us explain." But there was nothing left to explain. They'd spent my silence already, on flights and flowers and matching bridesmaid robes, and I had nothing left to lend them. Weeks passed. The bookstore gave me more hours. I started managing the donation ledger, got to take home books that didn't sell. One afternoon, I found a battered copy of The Waves. No dust jacket. Pages yellowed at the edges. I brought it home anyway. Wrote my name inside the front cover. Just one word. Elizabeth. No nicknames. No roles. No obligations. Just me. Winter came early that year. One morning I woke to frost on the attic window, traced a finger through it, a single quiet line. Somewhere far away, Hannah was probably decorating her first Christmas tree. Somewhere, my mother was setting the table for a holiday I was no longer expected to attend. I didn't send a card, but I did light a candle, placed it on the sill, watched it flicker against the glass like a heartbeat, finally returned to its rightful owner. I'm not bitter. Bitterness is loud, sour and wild. What I carry now is quieter, steadier. It's the weight of choosing peace without permission, of walking away from the people who taught you love was something earned, not given, of letting them keep the wedding and keeping myself.